The bioscanner at Sector 4 Customs didn't just beep. It screamed. A deep, mechanical howl cut through the noise of the crowded space station, silencing thousands of travelers in an instant. The overhead lights flickered and turned a dangerous shade of crimson, locking the exit doors with a heavy metallic thud. In the center of the sudden chaos stood Elara. To the naked eye, she looked unremarkable. She was small compared to the galactic average, lacking the thick scales, sharp spines, or natural plating that most species on the station possessed. She looked fragile, wrapped in a worn leather jacket, clutching a travel bag protectively against her chest. But the machine was reading something the eyes could not see. It was analyzing her genetic history, her muscle density, and the adrenaline currently flooding her veins. The screen above her flashed a warning in a language she didn't bother to read, declaring a biological anomaly that the station's safety protocols couldn't comprehend. Hidden safely inside her jacket was Pip, a tiny furry alien orphan she had rescued from a mining colony. Pip was trembling, his small claws digging into Elara's shirt. They were just trying to pass through the Iron Hub, a neutral station known for its rough clientele and predatory hierarchy. In this ecosystem, biology dictated status. If you had a shell, you were strong. If you were soft like Elara, you were meat. She felt the heavy, hungry gaze of the locals. They judged her by her lack of claws and her exposed, soft skin. They didn't know about Earth. They didn't know about the high gravity that compressed human bones into organic steel, or the hostile sun that hardened their endurance. They didn't know that to survive a death world, you didn't need a shell to hide in. You needed the spirit to break the world before it broke you. The crowd parted as a shadow fell over Elara. It was a Vrak marauder, a towering creature of jagged bone and green scales that stood 7 feet tall. He smelled of sulfur and dried blood. Behind him stood 3 others, clicking their mandibles in cruel amusement. The Vrak leader, a scarred beast named Korg, stepped into the red light of the scanner zone, ignoring the alarms. He pointed a serrated claw at Elara's chest. "Hand over the little one," Korg hissed, his voice sounding like grinding stones. "It will make a fine snack for my crew. And you? You look soft enough to chew without peeling." Elara didn't flinch. She didn't step back. She simply adjusted her stance, planting her feet firmly on the metal deck. "Walk away," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but it carried a weight that made the air feel heavy. Inside her mind, she wasn't afraid. She was remembering the lesson her father taught her back on Earth. Fear is a signal, not a master. Korg laughed, a wet, ugly sound that echoed in the silent hall. "You command me? You, a soft-skinned worm? I could snap you in half with 2 fingers." The bioscanner behind them chimed again, louder this time, having finally finished its deep tissue analysis. The holographic screen exploded with text, projecting a verdict for the whole hall to see: species, Earthborn, class, Apex, danger level, catastrophic. Korg hesitated for a fraction of a second, confused by the alert. That split second was all Elara needed. She didn't move like a prey animal freezing in headlights. She moved like a lightning bolt. As Korg's claw descended to grab her, Elara stepped inside his guard. She didn't use a weapon. She was the weapon. She drove her fist into the Vrak's midsection with the force of a hydraulic piston. On Earth, this would have been a devastating punch. Here, in the lower gravity of the station, combined with her dense human muscle fibers, it was like being hit by a cannonball. There was a sickening loud crack as Korg's impenetrable chitin armor shattered into pieces. He gasped, folding over in shock, purple blood leaking from his fractured shell. Elara didn't stop. She grabbed the massive alien by his bony collar and slammed him into the metal floor. The deck plates buckled under the impact, sending a tremor through the room. The other three Vrak hissed and lunged, their instincts taking over. Elara spun to face them, letting out a sound that wasn't a scream, it was a snarl. A primal guttural roar that dated back to when her ancestors hunted mammoths with pointed sticks in the ice. It was the sound of a predator that had decided to stop hiding. "Come on," she challenged them, baring her teeth. The Vrak froze mid-step. Their lizard brains screamed at them to run. They looked at their fallen leader, gasping for air with a shattered chest, and then at the small, soft creature standing over him. The illusion of their superiority had vanished. They realized that the armor they wore on the outside was nothing compared to the monster Elara kept on the inside. The fight was over before it truly began. Elara stood amidst the wreckage of the Vrak leader's pride, her knuckles slightly bruised but her breathing steady. The crimson lights of the station pulsed, matching the rhythm of the terrified crowd. Security drones finally hovered into view, weapons charged, but they didn't aim at the Vrak. They aimed their sensors at Elara, trembling as they calculated her threat level. They had never seen an organism generate that much kinetic force without mechanical aid. The crowd, usually loud and aggressive, was dead silent. They had confused a lack of armor for a lack of strength, and they would not make that mistake again. Elara looked around, her eyes cold and scanning for further threats. Seeing none, the tension drained from her shoulders. She reached into her jacket, and the security guards flinched, expecting a weapon. Instead, she gently pulled out a small water bottle and gave a sip to Pip. "It's okay, buddy," she whispered, her voice transforming from a growl back to a gentle lullaby. "Bad man is sleeping now." High above on a walkway, an old alien scholar watched the scene, typing a final note into his journal. He realized that the galaxy had it all wrong. True strength wasn't about building walls to keep the world out. It was about having the will to face the world unprotected. He watched the human comfort the child and wrote down the lesson that the station would never forget. True strength does not need armor. It simply needs a human will.